Hello, everyone. My name is Manish, and welcome again to Breaking into Tech podcast. Today's podcast is pretty much interesting because I have, a couple of people who are really, really great, and and that's the reason I kept the title as Beyond the Binary, and we are going to talk about love, code, real talk with our guest. Okay, so everyone, what if I tell you that behind some of the most powerful lines of code, there is even a more powerful love story? What if I tell you that identity isn't just about labels, but about courage, resilience, joy in the face of the world, still learning how to love back? So, today's episode is more than a conversation. Uh, Actually, it's a celebration. We are talking about the truth, about that, basically, we are going to talk about love that defies limit. I'm joined by someone I personally admire, Tiffany, a badass software engineer, someone I had pleasure to place in one of the project recently. And that was a not that let me tell you, so that was not a small project. That was a big enterprise, big banking client in United States. And guess what? She left within few months. Not because she failed, but because it was not challenging enough for her. She is here with her partner Ariel, and together they are kind of couple that makes you believe in love again. But also reminds you how much crap the world still throws at the people who dares to be a different. We are going to talk about everything: love, gender, tech, discrimination, identity, sex. Just going to laugh. So here we go. Okay, so my question is to Tiffany. So first thing first, I want to go to you first. Tell me about yourself and what got you into the software engineering in the first place.
Oh, thanks, Manish. Um, I would say I more that more that the software was released from me. So it's not so much that I found it,
Mm-hmm.
is that I it's what I did. So software in particular excited me because it's more of a creative endeavor. It's more
Mm-hmm.
artistic. It's very dynamic. You can iterate. You can evolve something. It's almost like sculpting something.
Mm-hmm.
While you're also trying to achieve some simplicity and some harmony, that's not um, a rat's nest of spaghetti.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I would say uh, another aspect that I think relates software to my personality and reality is that it's very physical. I mean, you think software is virtual, right? But it's not. We have things like object-oriented languages, it's nouns and verbs, which are very intuitive for
Mm-hmm.
given our physical being, right? And so um, as we build things, and I've always thought very visually, very mechanically, that was very natural for visualization and um, thought experiments, imagining solutions, right? So I would say what got me into software is I was fortunate that software uh, was that I discovered software because it's a very productive. It's more productive than say where I started electrical engineering and physics. Like those are fine foundational pursuits,
Mm-hmm.
but software to me is a more dynamic, active, and great, engaging all of my mind, logical and visual, memory and um, creative. So you asked what got me into software. I To me that question's not so much as I I have gratitude that software is exists to enable me to express my creations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I know. I mean,
The
because the
creation
thing
of
is,
software.
I can tell you one thing, with my experience, when I interacted you for, at the first time, and I realized that, hey, somebody can be so talented. Because I'm not sure if you remember that, when I was scheduling your first interview, and I had one of the very, very fine screener, the tech screener. And to be very honest, all the recruiters in the team used to be, very scared of that person, because hey, if the candidate was very technological, advanced person, that guy also reject those people. And then I met you. I was like, hey, you know what, should I go ahead and and the technical interview is going to be very tough. And you said, hey, if I'm not able to do the technical step stuff, I should leave the profession. I was like, oh my god, somebody has this kind of confidence, is like, it's really great, right? I know I placed you on the project with the bank, and you left that project because it was not challenging. What kind of challenge are you looking for? What kind of work excites you the most? And then third question, which I will just add it to this question, that what is one skill you should I mean, basically, you think that every junior developer should build beside coding?
Well, first, I wouldn't say it's confidence. It's not, there's not arrogance, just curiosity.
I
So a
know.
very healthy natural drive for, say, for example, people, but AI
Hmm.
is not to be dogmatic or ego, but to be curious. So, say interviews, what I thought is that's learning opportunities. Like, I really hope they know things I don't know, or they'll teach me, or I'll get answers wrong, because those are all points of learning,
Hmm.
curiosity to grow. So you asked, I'll probably answer the questions randomly. There were multiple questions. Junior developers, be thyself, like
Hmm.
whatever motivates them. So that's the definition of leadership, is to instill, to stimulate, to inspire motivation in the workers toward for the ultimate goal, because
Hmm.
they each have their own attributes and they'll contribute in unique ways you can't predict or control, but
Hmm.
you can inspire towards an end goal. So they'll
Hmm.
create, as with creative solutions through their diversity and individual um, abilities.
Hmm.
So to me, what would I tell them? I would tell them, um, primarily appreciate the diversity. If you have a balanced team, you want the diversity of perspectives and abilities as much as possible
Hmm.
to get the breadth to cover the bases of whatever you're doing. This is true in family businesses, small businesses. It's pretty much true in any group. Say Scrum size, we want teams size of 7, I don't know, 5 to 10 people, something that's a small enough unit that you can have enough cohesion towards the same goal, but then um, enough parallel activities to get a high velocity.
Hmm.
So to me, um, I don't care so much about what people know or consistency about the members as much as the emotional and drive of each individual member, so
Absolutely.
that they will contribute in unpredictable and unique ways. And that
Hmm.
enables innovation, it enables speed, it enables quality, and it works well with the agile or scaled agile, fast, tight iterations, so that we're always build, test, check, build, test, check, build, test, check, right? And very
Absolutely.
communicative.
Hmm.
So I think that's one unique aspect, is so similar in software, you want to go away from the waterfall where you're like requirement spec, then deliver that requirement spec, and then here you go. All right, okay, we threw that away right away because that's a guaranteed way to fail. Spend a lot of money and fail, yeah. So by going more, say, extreme programming or agile or Kanban, you can be very iterative and communicative to work together with the customers, with the subject matter experts, with the technical people and the businesses, to have tight, and by literally tight, we mean sub-week. So per week, you might have multiple checkpoints where you're iterating on, so that no one's off in their own world for more than just a few days. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Understood. How does it feel to code in the world that still barely knows how to talk about gender properly? Like, do you feel like people in tech looks at you differently because you are a trans woman?
Rarely. I mean, if I get into so during interviews, of course, I'm interviewing them and they're interviewing me, right? Is
Mm-hmm.
this going to socially be a harmonious environment where we're target focused, we're end goal focused, we're
Mm-hmm.
focused on work, where other extraneous issues, be you have nail polish or not, or be you
Mm-hmm.
assigned male at birth or assigned female, it's like, so the gender ish particular issues or sexuality that has nothing to do with the delivering software generally. What have I found, you asked, in terms of computing? Have I found issues with that? Yes. And say for chauvinist like ideas or this idea of hierarchy or positioning based on not outside of your technical contributions. Those are always inhibit the team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So for example, I did have, we call it mansplaining. I did have a another member basically mansplaining to me, and I'm like, um, I invented that. Like you're trying to, he's trying to talk down to me,
Yeah.
explain something that literally I created.
Yeah.
And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
okay, fine, you can do that, but that's a problem because those kind of obstacles are social obstacles are within each individual is very difficult to overcome. It's very difficult to change that.
Absolutely.
The each right. So he ended up the manager. Well, I'm lucky the manager noticed that and assigned him to another team. Just so that our team was not encumbered by those social impediments.
Absolutely. I mean,
Hmm.
generally, anyone who has this thing in their mental, and they have basically someone who is like a very male dominating in nature, they look at you in a very, condescending way. So I get it what you're saying, right? Um, I'll go to
Let
Ariel
me add to that
now.
though. Because you're
Sorry?
saying condescending, you're saying
Yeah.
condescending. In my experience, is double condescending because
Yeah.
there's this attitude women should be at home or something, or in men are at the helm.
I
And
know.
then for me, then I sometimes get the extra hit is you're a guy who decided to be a girl. So it's almost like there's the judgment of differentiation of roles based on sex, but then I feel like I some often get an extra hit
Mhm.
because of transphobia.
Absolutely, absolutely. I want to go to Ariel now. Ariel, what do you do? What is your profession? And is it like code? I know because the thing is, why I asked this, and I'll go through there because the thing is, coding is one of the sexiest thing about any developer. Was that the reason where you fell for Tiffany?
Um, well, partly, I suppose yeah, partly I suppose like um she was also kind of um part in the group we were attending in Portland,
Mm-hmm.
and I suppose I'll um in that case yeah, it's um um she kind of uh took an interest as well, and just kind of grew on each other.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Like
so
boards.
yeah. Um, uh, and like what I do myself, I am a U.S. Army veteran who and spent about a year in Afghanistan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and right now generally mostly work at Amazon, packing boxes, moving um picking and stowing items, moving things
Mm-hmm.
around there.
Yeah, I understand. And look, the thing is,
See the
that was
color on
about
my
to be my question, because the thing is, I really wanted to check, um, how did you meet to, right? Who made the first move? Was it like a Tiffany or Ariel? Can you talk about it?
Mm. Well, Tiffany, relatively I'm just well, yeah, kind of did relatively in terms of just talking at first, and yeah, along the lines of uh, like I said, Ed met with at a
Transgender
trans
support
group
group,
at a transgender support group in Portland.
Portland,
Mm-hmm.
Oregon. So, right. So I initiated conversations with her. So mostly it was through
Mm,
Facebook. Like obviously
mm,
we were in the same group, but we noticed
mm,
that another friend who posted a lot on Facebook, Ariel and I were always liking and
mm,
commenting on each other's comments.
Mm-hmm.
And so pretty much we connected
mm,
through um, comments in Facebook and posts on Facebook. I liked her post, she liked my posts, that sort of thing, which is surprising because I would
mm,
not have expected. It's not like a dating service or anything, but through social media we
mm,
connected. But then, of course, like I may have initiated communications, but then I tried to impress her
mm,
because I knew she was a U.S. Army veteran, and
Mm-hmm.
I like, oh, did you know I attended the United States
mm,
Military Academy at West Point?
mm,
And she's
Wow.
like, okay. And I'm like, wow, if that doesn't impress her, how do I impress her?
mm,
But nonetheless,
mm.
I think just our communications and in desires to hang out and spend time um, blossomed really quickly, I would say.
I know, I know. Tiff, you told me a very interesting story when we interacted first. You talk about, um, about your name, right? What was your name first, and how did you change it to Tiffany, right? I really wanted to know the thought process behind keeping this name as the Tiffany,
That's a good
from your
question.
previous name.
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think so. I believe that Carl Jung's exploration and philosophy about the unconscious mind is very
Mm-hmm.
important. Where 70% we're just on intuition. So if you look at animals in the wild, they're not taught, they don't study. They just intuition, their instincts work. So humans are the same way. So you're asking about my name. I think similar to my work, the intuition drives it. Ideas, it just hands ideas to me.
Mm-hmm.
So if I'm debugging software, it figures it. My unconscious figures it out and there's like, here's the answer. And so my name originally assigned at birth was Chadwick Keith Boggs.
Okay.
Um, and then like, when I began gender transition, um, I remembered my basically first girlfriend
Mm-hmm.
in like
Mm,
pretty young, right? And her name in my memory was Tiffany Timbrick. And I'm like,
mm,
that's strange. But if I take apart the name as a software person, what does that name mean, right?
mm,
Well, I think the story you asked me about was the details of the first name.
Yep.
Tiffany. That's TIFFANY. So TIFF, tagged image
mm,
file format. Well, that's the basic format. So my family has
Wow.
photographers. And well, no, I shouldn't quote it. They are professional photographers.
mm,
So um, all binary images are essentially tagged image format. It's uncompressed, no data loss. So any image presenting female, presenting the image you want, and any image, Tiff Annie.
Mm-hmm.
So that's interesting. And
mm,
then timbric is similar to timbre in music, which is it's a word to describe the feeling, the emotion, the unique signature of an instrument. So you could try to classify it, but music, say I say a violin, it's an aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
expression. A viola or a violin, they sound different. Of electric guitar, physical, acoustic guitar, they sound different. What's the timbre of the music, the instrument, the essence, the sounding, the room, and so
Mm-hmm.
it's saying what's the true nature that you can't describe. So to me, Tiffany Timbrick means expressing letting each individual express their true nature. If I want to wear a dress,
mm,
I'm expressing my true nature. I'm being authentic, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not faking. I'm not crazy.
Yeah.
I'm trying to explore the positive attributes of me
Mm-hmm.
in the ways I view authentic, right?
Absolutely. I mean, look, the thing is,
mm,
this is a very philosophical way of the nomenclature I have ever heard. And that was the reason I asked this question, to you. Because the thing is, generally in India, we have meaning to every name, right? It is like, if like my name is Manish, it's thinking of God is the meaning of my name. I don't know, in India we have it, you have to have a name which has a meaning to it, right? And I don't find it in all the cultures, but yes. In the next segment, we are definitely going to talk about, sex, attraction, and labels. Let me tell you, basically, I have done my master's in sociology, right? So I used to accompany one of my friend, when we used to do a research about the LGBT community. So basically, India has a very significant history of the community, right? In India, there is a community called Hijra community, and that has a very significant history of about more than 4,000 years, right? So basically, who are Hijras? Hijras are basically often born male, but they look at dress in traditionally feminine way, right? They may or may not undergo, castration, and some are born intersex. So basically, hijra often use pronouns that means neither men and women, or they basically they live in a distinct community that is often separated from the society. They form, a very good relation of the guru chela, like it's a, you have a teacher and you have someone who follows the instruction of the teacher, right? So this originates in Hindustan, in Indian culture, and has a very very old significance. In royal courts, hijras used to be someone who used to hold a very high regard. But what I see now, they face very high level of social stigma, discrimination, isolation, separations. They are often treated as untouchable in public places. So that is the situation, and about some of the LGBT community here in India. So my question to you, Tiffany, I mean, I really want to take, just take me back. When did you start realizing that your gender identity was not what you were assigned at birth?
Yeah, when was I conscious of that? Well, to me, gender identity is innate. It's just who you are. So as your consciousness develops, you start becoming aware is around 5 years old, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And so there are assumptions you make then up until till puberty starts, pre-puberty, where your body starts going in aggressive changes, one
Yeah.
direction or the other, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So to me, your gender identity is innate, and when your hits, that's often uncomfortable, but for some people, it's very explicit in their mind. This is not what I assumed would happen.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I thought that way, and wait, why this way? So it's a very torturous um, situation when you realize your body doesn't match with your conscious identity. So this is related to to something we call the gender unicorn, right? Which I should stop quoting everything. But the gender unicorn is the difference between your brain, your body, and your attraction. So there's your body looks like whatever. Does the doctor say, "Oh, this is clearly a boy," or is this intersex is an ambiguous when a baby is
Mm-hmm,
born, or is it, "Oh, this is clearly female"? It's not like they do a genetic test, or even if they did, those results are far more complex than most people think.
mm-hmm,
So there's the body, physical development, but then um, later I think early on, around 5 years old, the consciousness becomes aware of what are your likes, what are your dislikes, how do you think of yourself, how do you want to exist, and how do you want people to see you? That's gender identity. That's mental. And I think even after that, at some point, perhaps during or puberty or after, is who are you attracted to? Who do you like being attracted? Who do you like it when they're attracted to you?
mm-hmm,
And so sexuality, and identity and body are three separate things that are generally unrelated to each other,
mm-hmm.
and unique to each individual. Um,
Absolutely.
one other aspect I want to mention is you did say castration. So in the US, when we speak about humans, we say orchiectomy. So the medical term is orchiectomy.
Yeah.
Basically, it's if it was an animal, we'd say castration, but the
Mm-hmm,
same thing. And that's the most minor form of endocrine adjusting surgery. So
mm-hmm,
if we talk about, say, hormone replacement therapy, obviously, if you're driven by testosterone, that's causes male development.
mm-hmm,
Voice is low.
mm-hmm,
I started hormone replacement therapy at age 48. So 48 years old. That means 40 years of testosterone. Like that can't be undone. So,
Absolutely, yeah.
whereas people who start young in their teens, their body literally develops their voice and their body otherwise develops according to the endocrine hormones within it, be it estrogen or testosterone.
Absolutely.
Um,
Like I
so
why I
yeah,
this thing,
I just
because
want
the
to
thing
also
is.
touch that
Mhm.
orchiectomy, that's the most minor of the surgeries, and it's unique because it is focused purely on the hormones, your naturally produced hormones.
Mhm. I mean, that takes a lot because, I really wanted to understand, what was it like to step into your truth, right? And how did your relation with your body change along the way? Because the thing is that at the 48 years of age, when you realize that, you need to have some kind of feminine look, the thing is, some kind of traits of being a male and being a female. I think it is everywhere, right? It is like, I mean, when I see a boy crying and having a very high quotient of emotion, I mean, I can find something it little more feminine, because the thing is, sometime what happen, you are groomed in a society where you have a, male upbringing. You are not supposed to be very much emotionally, uh, I how to put it, like, you
So
are not
I
supposed to be, yeah,
understand.
yeah. So that is what I really wanted to understand, because it takes a lot to cope up with the change of the body, right? And how did how did you feel? Because the thing is, uh you said the time you felt that, you are conscious enough to understand about the body, you immediately recognize your sexual orientation, or your gender identity, I would say.
Yeah,
So
I would say
yeah.
you have innate assumptions. I think a lot is just by nature. So it's not so much cultural. Like we try to use words, we have cultures they develop, but the foundation is nature. So differences between males and females, they are innate, right?
Mhm,
Like, and I
mhm,
raised 4 kids. I seriously knew when they were born within a week who that person was going to be. They're unique. Each individual is unique. So,
absolutely.
um, to me, the differences between male and female, say emotions or interests and abilities, physical abilities, is innate, right? Obviously. So you also said stepping into the gender identity, and to all transgender people that I know, it's not so much stepping into as it's stepping out of the fake. It becomes the faking and the lying becomes so painful
Yeah.
that you can't handle it anymore. And so we're not like stepping into, we're stepping out of the effort and the pain of trying to pretend that I am something I'm not. So to me, I didn't at 48, um, it wasn't stepping into being female, it was just stepping out of being male,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
pretending to be male. Like, why am I
Absolutely.
wearing pants? Why am I wearing pants every day and such? And I'm like, in particular, I needed new clothes, so I went shopping and I bought the clothes I wanted, not the clothes I was
Absolutely.
supposed to buy. And the clothes I wanted happened to be a skirt and a blouse instead of a pants and a slacks and a dress shirt.
Mhm.
Mm.
Do you have?
What was the question?
Oh, there were too many
Um,
questions.
There are
yeah.
many questions, but I have one question for you. Like, there are a lot of people, right? And this is for my, my audience, who are still confused about gender identity with sexuality. So they are confused between the gender identity and sexuality. So suppose if there is a viewer seeing, the whole podcast, can you break down that? How would you explain it to the 5-year-old, right? How
Hmm.
can you
I would
explain it?
never explain sexuality to a 5-year-old, but I would say
But I'm.
if you look back in time, look across cultures or look back in time, and it used to be a distinction was more like, is power related? Are you dominant or submissive? Like, are you a top dominant type person in general, or are you
Yeah.
a bottom submissive type person in general?
Mm.
And the way those particular attributes in the sexuality domain can be very different than in the rest of your life. So I'm very controlling in particular in been leader oriented in most of my life, but in some parts of my life, I my natural desires are opposite that.
Um, well, I would say like usually after two people get to be a certain age, then they would generally tend to love each other in a certain way um that can vary, and while frequently people will very often people will just want to dress their own way as well.
Mm-hmm.
And like one is sexuality, one is gender, while it's like certainly with a 5-year-old, it's like it's yeah,
Oh,
it's like it's like it's just best to keep it simple to when two people love each other in a certain way, they want to express that um in a that way rather than
but I would
dress.
also say it's nature. You don't have to think about it. Like you're unconscious, you're not, it just happens, right? It's not like people choose it. It just,
No,
so
I
I
understand.
say
Mm-hmm.
like, but this also, if you think about time, what is time? Technically, the past doesn't exist and the future might not exist. So we're always in the now. The only thing exists absolutely is the now. So if you live in the now and go in the flow, you can tend to release and be more in harmony with nature. And so I think that's all aspects of life, from work to, you said, intimacy.
Mm-hmm.
Um, how does it done? It's the same. Just
Mm,
go with the flow, release in the now. It does it. Like you can also observe. You can observe what your natural inclinations are and flows, separate from your controlling of them. So the observation of self outside of the controlling of self is a mental step that is leads to, I think, wisdom and balance of emotional balance.
No, why
yeah,
I
which is
asked this, 5-year old, that was a very, let me put it, I just want to clarify that question. So basically what happens, suppose you, Tiffany, you were raised to, in a male body, and then you married, you had, 4 kids, and those kids are calling you, papa, father, or whatever. And all of a sudden, your orientation changed because you decided that, that's, I'm gonna get into my identity. And for that person, that kid, it how the kid is going to cope up that, hey, now I was just calling my father as a papa, now I have to say mama. You understand my
It's
question, right?
Yeah, it's loss for
mm,
them. It's loss and trauma for them, right?
Exactly. Mm-hmm.
Because they have a
mm,
context they exist in, mom, dad, and it's stability. It's part of their own identity. I am in this, bam. So, and their security. And so for them, the challenge is avoiding the trauma and the sense of loss, which could even cause hostility from in them. So that means it's a very that's the danger side. The upside is that generally, or ideally, you can make them use it to have them understand a higher level of authenticity. The fact that nature is infinitely more complex, and what nature produces is infinitely more complex than we're able to understand. Like we still, I think we finally fully decoded the human genome, but even with AI and computer advances technology, we don't understand the human genome very well, nor human biology. So the natural, so that means in our individual experience, we can go with the flow. We can explore our feelings, feeling harmonious in our existence without trying to control it. So that means to me, the way you make it a benefit to the kids if they're when their parent gender transitions is you use that as a way for them to gain more wisdom and respect for diversity, and we're each on an individual journey, seeking truth and seeking peace and harmony. so that thereby the kid could the children can see it as a sign of intelligence, not a sign of insanity. So when a parent transitions, that's very common. The highly intelligent individuals who choose to gender transition, it's not more than the psychologically troubled persons.
Yeah, yeah. You talk about the decoding things, right? So let's decode the whole rainbow. LGBTQIA plus plus. What do all these letters means, and why does the plus plus matter so much?
Why two pluses instead of one? I
Well,
think
yeah, I don't know exactly why two pluses instead
C
of
plus
one
plus, C
per
language
se,
plus plus.
per se, but it's LGBTQ, um, lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, and queer can have a variety. Q can have a variety of meanings, like with questioning queer, while plus would generally be like there's also pansexual, and actually plus also can kind of includes a very similar group in America, um, with the Native American community called Two Spirit.
Hmm.
That's like very similar to Hydra, as well as I would think that like similar cultures around the world, like Fafani and Samoa would also fit with would also like they're also similar to Hydra as well.
Hmm. Hmm. Absolutely.
What is it in Mexico?
Musha.
Musha. Yeah, in Mexico as well. So what
Yeah,
I've found, I've traveled internationally everywhere, China, Russia, Europe. Haven't been to India, but I've been many other
You should. You
countries.
should come to India for sure.
mm,
Absolutely. India is kind of a
mm,
foundation of even Western religion and culture.
mm,
However, um, I've noticed everywhere you go, it's the same percentage of humans are gay or transgender, be it
mm,
allowed by their government and culture or not. So China, Russia,
mm,
Europe, US, I assume India, it's roughly the same percentage. It's the nature of mammals. It's the nature of biology that
mm,
that our ideas of heterosexual, pansexual, gay um, are
mm,
are very rough and super inaccurate descriptions of nature because nature is more complex. So if you again go back to time, people didn't have these words. They didn't have this gay heterosexual dichotomy. Pretty much even U.S. presidents
Yeah.
were interacted with both men and women. It's so what the natural nature for what nature produces is very different than what we try to enforce like a spreadsheet. Nature's not a
Yeah. Hmm.
spreadsheet.
I
mm,
understand. I mean, look, the
yeah.
thing is, this is very complex, and also, and that is why we are supposed to be open up about it, right? And my the reason of me being on this conversation is the same, right? You know, my I have this question, that is just hitting my mind right now. That what's a label or identity people misunderstand the most, right? And what me I mean the people who consider themselves as a male or female, only binary, what's and then what's something we should stop saying right now? You understand my question, what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Mm.
Those things we talked about last night, I guess,
Um,
such as well, one thing I
mm,
would say this is assigned, there's a misunderstanding of the most generally homophobes and transphobes in particular are explicitly refuse to to express or accept the idea that I said the brain and gender identity and our conscious
mm,
choices as individuals can differ from our body. The fact that I was assigned male at birth is independent. I could be the most genetically and by all features masculine person ever to have existed and still consciously choose to gender transition to female.
mm,
So there's two things. There's I might what drives my conscious decision? Is it that doesn't much matter. I may or may not understand what drives my conscious decision, but the brain can change the body through surgery. The brain is in charge. Consciousness is in the brain. I think, therefore I am, right? And so
Absolutely.
it's the brain and individual sovereignty, individual life, liberty, pursuit of happiness, you know. This country, the US, is based on individualism. It was people's fleeing persecution and from religious domination, from uh, royalties, government domination, to have the freedom to pursue their religion or be atheist, no religion, or be Hindu, or Satanist if there it doesn't. Well, you make your own choice. Separation of church and state, individual liberty. To me, that's now I forgot what the question was, but to me, that's the oh yeah, what do people say? To me, that's how you avoid this idea. People say what biological gender?
Yeah.
Like that phrase makes no sense. If you study genetics, if you're saying biological gender, it's infinite diversity. So you said the binary extremes, male, female. Yes. However, the gray area between them, most people are in the gray area between the binary extremes. The binary extremes they're sort of like zero and infinity. You can approach them, but they never physically exist. Everyone's in the gray. And so that's why you asked LGBTQIA plus plus. Why? Because what we're saying is that gray area is infinite diversity and it's huge. And so don't constrain yourself to these ideas of binary and middle school biology, XXXY. Because that's not what nature expresses, and it's not healthy for you to think that way, either socially with others or about yourself.
Absolutely. Understood. Look, the I mean, diversity is the beauty, right? And the diversity should be responsible for the unity, because that is like shows the beauty in the society. And you are pretty much right, because the thing is, I see a lot of people talking about the whole woke culture, or there are a lot of things that say, right? And I feel like there should be a lot of information that should be routed to everyone. And so basically, next question is something for both of you. You may or may not answer. How did you basically, how did you navigate the intimacy together while transitioning, physically, or it is emotionally, socially, not financially, because you both are very independent. So I don't see financially.
No, financially is always premier concern.
Yeah. Well, um I have some degree of have been like always been like blue collar, kind of low income myself after the military, while I suppose it's like emotionally I would kind of just be dealing with that um relatively well. Tiffany is a big help in terms of just being together, and I would hope to help to support her with what she needs to do, um like just mental support, emotional support,
Financial
I
support.
know financial support. Like there's a lot of complexity there um as well.
Understood.
Um,
Okay.
right. But you also asked the intimacy again during gender transition. So my experience with that was that because obviously I've been with men, I've been with women, I've been with transgenders. I would say she and I, Ariel and I in particular, and many transgender women are something that we call transbian. Is it gay, meaning two men? Is it lesbian, meaning two women? Is it pansexual, meaning I like everyone, doesn't matter. Or is it transbian? Transbian's a word that means transgender women, transgender people attracted to other transgender people. And the reason for that being very natural, I think, is that only transgender people understand transgender people, and they understand transgender people in a deep way that is a deep connection between them. So not only is every aspect of her attractive to me, um, it's also I know she's accepting of the male and female attributes of me because I appreciate the male and female attributes of her. So to me, it's flowing with nature, but there's also uh, the lack of ignorance. So we have connection points that say if I'm with men, they don't understand, or if I'm with, say, my ex-wife, she doesn't understand gender, non-heteronormative um, gender identity. Like, so it's cool to be with when you're with someone you have those connection points. It's if you also have chemistry, um, you don't have to think about it. The relationship and intimacy being part of relationship just happens.
Yeah.
Understood. I mean, in the current situation, when there is a lot of positivity, negativity, all kind of environment is there. So in this situation, how do you do when the noise gets very loud? Do you write journals, like scream, or
Hmm.
for Tiffany, you start coding, nap, or rage clean? What do you do?
Hmm.
Well, the noise is very loud right now in the US. A lot of homophobia, especially transphobia in particular. And it's beyond phobia, it's hostility.
Yeah. One thing, um, like I would tend to uh always like I would say I would like tend to kind of just shut myself off with shut myself out. I like isolate myself as best as possible and like play video games or watch movies.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
watch movies while also if I like I have a bike outside if I have a working if I have a good working bicycle like I just go out and go for a bike I like have gone for a like bike ride for it's like
Wow.
um on Portland's like 40-mile loop between on the Springwater Trail corridor going between the Willamette River and Boring. That's like I don't know how many miles offhand that is. It's like 20 miles, 40 miles, something like that.
Amazing. I mean, I recently saw, I think it was on Tiffany's Instagram or somewhere. I saw a motorbike post and I was like, was it Tiffany? And then I realized now after this conversation, I'm realizing it was because of you. So I love that. But yeah,
Mm.
I mean, that's an interesting part. I never realized that, oh, I think she is bringing other. Who is
Oh,
she? Is it
yeah.
you or
This is Tiffany.
Ariel?
This is
That's
Tiffany.
Chadwick Boggs, now
Oh,
Tiffany Tindy
okay. So
at
that's
Yeah.
I
the
don't
thing.
know, 8 years old or something.
I
Yeah.
got it.
The,
I got it.
my experience
I
is
was flying.
yeah, that is a more like a dirt bike, so more like a motorcycle.
Mm-hmm.
While I um have never really gotten to be able to get into riding dirt bikes or
That's
racing dirt
there.
bikes. Yeah, I've just been able the best I've had access to was like a BMX, more like a BMX growing up and mountain bike later on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I can answer your
Next.
question as well in the sense that Ariel said exercise. That's how, if there's a emotion, people
Wow.
becoming emotional and hostile, exercise, go exercise, right? That's healthy. Why? Because you're not thinking, it's good for body chemistry.
Absolutely.
I do similar things is that I try to always elevate my logical analysis, and then by when things are getting emotional, that's valuable. That means there's some, but you have to step out because you don't want to
Mm,
become emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but often from those, anything that's driving people's strong emotion, that means there's a key point of conflict or there's a very important issue
Mm-hmm.
within themselves or being discussed. And so step out and think and not not throw it all away, but hopefully at some point your mind will figure out what were those key points, what were those foundational truths.
Mm-hmm.
So certainly I love opportunities to get more information, to get more truths.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm less interested in I'm partially interested in safety and emotional stability, but I'm also very interested in trying to figure this world out, because the world and what's true and untrue
Mm-hmm.
um, is difficult. And so in my job and my life, I'm always trying to conquer ignorance. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, is there a firmament? Is space real? Is it frozen oxygen as a or is there a vacuum of space? I don't know. Is the Earth flat? Is it round? Is I How do I know? I haven't touched it, but I try to love to find ideas that contradict the dogma,
Mm-hmm.
because that activates the mind. It's
Mm-hmm.
it might discover truths which might enable me to produce technology that others don't produce.
Mm-hmm.
The ultimate
Mm-hmm.
goal is to reduce human suffering, right? Improve the
Mm-hmm.
human condition. Well, there
Understood.
are homeless people in the U.S. Why? We have to solve all of the social problems through improving our scientific knowledge and technical ability, I think.
Hmm. I know, because the thing is, there are a lot of people who misunderstand, and because of that socialization, they become very, very, they become very hatred oriented. I'm not sure if you're supposed to use this word, but my question here is, what's one clap back you gave a hater that you are still proud of? You're like, it's a mic drop for me.
Mm.
You have one?
Well, suppose it's like my experience is a bit more along the lines of like whatever they're going to. It's like if they have something to say, they're gonna like say it while I just like ignore them, and because it's like that person doing that is just not there. They're
They don't
like
deserve it. Yeah.
What about the MAGA hat? I was scared that day.
oh yeah, like that's one thing. Like we had I noticed at any rate somebody in front of us um the store, the supermarket, with a MAGA hat on.
Make America great again.
Yeah, so like I've noticed some posts somewhat before that as well, um, along the lines of "Make America Gay Again," in which case I said like "Make America Gay Again" behind the guy in line.
Of course, he turns around and I'm like,
Mm,
oh, de-escalate the situation. Oh no,
mm,
I don't want to get punched or something. But
mm,
I think so I was impressed by that. I was scared by that one, but I was impressed. But one thing
mm,
that is, so someone asks, are you male or female? And
mm,
the answer, yes.
mm,
Are you male or
mm,
female? Yes.
mm.
Both.
Yeah.
My God, that's great. That's great.
So
I
yeah.
Okay, I really wanted to, go and on the next segment, because we really want to make sure that our audience also should get some kind of knowledge of this conversation. So, what would you say to someone listening, and who you may not understand, the trans lives, so called, but really wants to be an ally to the whole LGBT community. So, what would you say to those people?
Mm, mm,
I would say just the foundation is appreciating diversity. So for me, the foundation of being an ally is respecting individual liberty, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that means that you could they would when they encounter situations with their friends and others, they would try to conquer that dogma. So they would thereby reduce the judgment and hostility against us. So for example, I was walking at the mall early in transition, and I looked good. I had on a Nordstrom shirt and a super colorful top. And I'm walking down the mall, and I noticed someone laugh, two girls laugh. One of them starts laughing behind me,
Mm-hmm.
and she says to her friend, "Oh my God, do you see that?"
Mm-hmm.
Very judgmentally, like as if she was trying to say there was something negative about me. And her friend responded in an intelligent way. She said, "Actually, that's really impressive." And so her friend was an ally because of the two friends, one was judgmental in a negative
Mm-hmm.
way, and there are two sides to every coin.
Absolutely.
Her
Yeah.
friend flipped the coin and said, "Actually, it's very impressive because of these ways." And so
I
that
mean,
there are two sides to every coin.
let me tell you. So basically, that things comes from the socialization, right? How you raise a kid, right? And that is where my next questions arises. Basically, how can we raise kids who respect diversity instead of tolerating it like a a checkbox? So how we can raise these kids?
To me, it's also don't the gender's not the binary, and so for each individual, be they their gender transition, or you communicate it to your kids or others, or trying to develop your kids' understanding for it, let them understand that words are rough. Words constrain our thought as much as they communicate our thought. So, am I a transgender woman? I don't know. I'm me. So I could try to communicate. Um, Gender transition, like even those phrases don't they constrain my existence too much. So I'm me. Do I happen to wear a dress? Yes. Did I get an orchiectomy? Yes. Do I take estrogen? Yes. So does that make me a transgender woman? Do I want to pass as cis female? Do I try? Am I wearing makeup? Not today, unfortunately, but um so to me, educating the kids or teaching the kids is get them to respect that nature has diversity that each individual wants to be authentic with more than fit the description of a particular word, right?
Absolutely.
Like do a particular word gay or not gay or pansexual. Like I don't know, like go easy on the language and get more in touch with nature and what you can feel and explore to
Mhm.
learn about yourself.
I really want to go back to the previous conversation where you talk about two girls talking and commenting while looking at you, right? So I mean, those are the things generally happen to a lot of people, right? So, what are the most absurd assumptions people make about your sex life, your orientation, or your desires?
That I'm a prostitute.
Mm. Yeah, it's one. It can be one.
Like, uh, I'm a computer programmer. I mean, no,
I know.
I'm not going to sell
That's
intimacy.
sad.
Sorry.
That's sad, the way you said it, because I mean, that shows that, society still links sexuality too closely with the shame, right? And that is the reason, these things happen. I mean, that was a really um, sad when you said that, I understand. Have you ever had to choose between being safe or being seen? That's my next question.
Mm.
Every day.
Mm.
What about
Yeah.
you?
Um, well, I suppose along those lines, it's like I've also been trained to like go into danger while it's also like um it's kind um along it's like if unless they're like directly brandishing weapons or something like that, it doesn't really
This is
seem
a weapon.
yeah, it doesn't really seem unsafe to me, but I mean like weapons worse than just fists.
Mm.
Because it's like fists can be fended off fairly easy enough. There are worse weapons than that. So yeah, it's like
Words.
yeah,
Sorry.
it's like words can hurt um relatively emotionally. While I haven't really been in any like direct situation so far where like like somebody is directly threatening my life, it would seem um so I do rely on my training like to